good evening, and I'm so glad you could join me once again. Tonight's message I've entitled, Be Patient, God is Working. Have you ever been in a spot in your life and you're not sure why you're there? You're not sure why you are going through what you are going through, why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. But you continue to press on. You continue to do the best you can in spite of all the opposing forces. There's a movie called The Pursuit of Happiness, based on a true story. The main character, Gardner, and his newly wed wife start off well. They are in love and excited for the future. They have big plans and dreams of a bright future ahead of them. They use their savings to get involved in an emerging company that provides an upgrade in technology to hospitals and doctors as they scan and run their tests. The newlywed couple is excited. They begin their journey, a life together. They receive a large shipment of these advanced technological devices that they've poured their savings into in hopes to make a profit and provide a stable future for themselves. The shipment arrives and they fill up their new apartment with these scanning devices known as portable bone density scanners. Gardner saw the opportunity to get involved in what seemed like to him a growing industry and made the leap of faith. He dove into the deep. He saw it as a golden opportunity. He took a risk in hopes of a rich reward. He started out on his journey, a journey as a salesman, traveling to hospitals and doctors' offices, selling these bone density scanners, selling one and then another one, and things were going well for him. Chris began to believe that he had walked into easy money, that his grand idea of getting in when the time was right was paying off and would continue to pay off. Yes, things were looking good for him and his wife. But then slowly things began to turn. Chris began having trouble selling these new devices. Some of the hospitals did not see it as a necessity, as a pressing need. They see it as more of a luxury. And Chris begins hitting roadblock after roadblock, being turned down here and there. The time that lagged between the sales and his growing financial demands, it began to put strain on his marriage. Chris and his wife, they have a son together, and there begins to be a heavy concern about the future. Chris' wife, in order to meet the demands, the financial demands, the responsibilities, Chris' wife picks up more hours at work, working as a hotel maid. She picks up these hours just to make ends meet and to provide. Chris, day after day, is coming home, being turned away again and again, and he comes home feeling defeated and deflated that he is unable to make these sales. His wife continues to grow discouraged, and she turns bitter and begins to alienate herself after she sees day after day what started off as a bright future turn into a hopeless and lost pursuit. The object, these bone density scanners that at first was seen as immensely valuable, is now looked at and scorned and discussed. And it's affecting their relationship, how they see one another and how they react to one another. Chris' wife, overworked and underpaid, is stressed, worried, and concerned. And she begins yelling and losing her temper. She is more angry now. It seems like she's angry all the time. And she begins alienating herself from her husband. The economic instability increasingly erodes their marriage, despite caring for Christopher Jr., their soon to be 5-year-old son. But something happens one day. While Chris is out in the town making his rounds, trying to sell these scanners as best as he can, he meets someone who works on Wall Street. This chance encounter stirs up in Mr. Gardner, Chris Gardner, stirs up in him yet another dream. A chance to dream big and pursue a chance to become an intern stockbroker. Chris is excited about this dream that has been stirred up in him. He's excited with this opportunity, this chance to be successful and prosper. And so, being excited, he goes home and he shares his big hopes and dreams with his wife. When he got home later that day, she hears this news, being so tired and exhausted, and she dismisses the dream. She sees it as a reckless fantasy. She hears of it and she begins belittling him and discouraging him, making comments comparing the odds to becoming an astronaut or some other wild-eyed ambition. The wife, exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so exhausted, she's discouraged. She's discouraged because the first dream didn't seem to pan out according to the plans, according to expectations. And here she is hearing yet another dream, and she does not have the energy to pursue another chase of a dream with her husband. And so she decides that what's best for her is to leave, to go and stay with a relative and start another career path for herself. And so she decides to leave her husband, Chris. And they agree that the son should be with his father. And so she leaves. Chris Gardner is now a single parent, trying to raise his son as best as he knows how, and yet struggling himself, faced with a multitude of challenges. He begins facing more and more challenges and extreme difficulties, trying to make ends meet and provide for his son, all the while pursuing a big dream, a dream of a chance to become an intern stockbroker, still selling these machines, trying to sell these machines as best as he can, this technology. He loses his wife, he loses his car, he loses his house. He lives in motels, from this motel to the next motel. He goes to homeless shelters. He faces homelessness and constantly being evicted. He continues to care for his son and chasing after a dream of a bright future. And he works hard to do the right thing. Not giving up the dream that just around the bend, just around the corner, he believes that hard work will pay off. He goes to an interview, and despite his appearance, He impresses the interviewers and lands a 6-month unpaid internship. He would be amongst 20 interns competing for a paid position as a stockbroker. Gardner goes on to win the coveted full-time position, despite the grueling challenges and difficulties that he and his son faced. Gardner went on to form his own multi-million-dollar brokerage firm. It's a powerful movie. And what's more is it's a powerful, true story. A story from rags to riches. A story of not giving up, about persevering, even when the pressure is on, even when others around you begin throwing in the towel and dismissing your dream. You know, it's not easy to continue to press on, to continue to persevere. It's not easy. Chris Gardner, I'm sure, felt alone on this island of poverty. But the pursuit of the dream, the pursuit of happiness, propelled him forward. It was the dream, the vision that was placed inside of him. This dream that could become a reality, not giving up. And that was worth the chase for Gardner. We read about another dreamer in the Bible by the name of Joseph. He too is dismissed when he talks about his dream. He's dismissed and betrayed because of a dream that he had. He's sold into slavery. He's placed into prison, though no fault of his own. And Joseph faces his own challenges and difficulties. We pick back up in the book of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 40, where he meets two men who fall from riches to rags. These two men were at the top of their class. They're at the top of the positions there in the land. They were at the top. They were important officials in Pharaoh's court. And the Bible says that these two men, these two officials, they offended the Pharaoh. And he was angry with them. And he put them in prison. And they were assigned to Joseph. Joseph was in charge. He oversaw the people there in the prison. And these two men were assigned to Joseph, and he attended them. Joseph had a responsibility even in prison. He had the responsibility to look after what needed to be looked after, to take care of what needed attention. As a slave, before being put in prison, as a slave in Potiphar's house, he also there had duties and responsibilities. And here we see he also has duties and responsibility in the prison. You know, we have duties and responsibilities where we are, where God has us. Joseph was put in charge of all those held in the prison. And he was made responsible for all that was done there. And here, these two royal officials are placed in the care of Joseph. And Joseph recognizes that one day, after they had been in custody for a while, one day, they both looked sad. "Why do you look sad today?" asked Joseph. In verse 8, "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." How are you doing with interpreting your life? How are you doing with interpreting your situation, where you are? Do you feel confused, concerned, conflicted? These officials are sad, not only because of where they find themselves. Joseph saw a difference in their demeanor, how they looked. It wasn't just because they were in prison. No, there was a difference about them. They felt sad, and they looked sad. Their appearance had sad written all over it. The officials are sad because they do not have an answer. They are without an interpreter. And Joseph, seeing their sad state, picking up on their sad state, explains to them that there is an interpreter. There is one with the answer. God is the revealer of mystery. God is the interpreter of dreams. And Joseph begins to explain the meaning to both of them about each of their dreams. One of the officials would be restored back to his position. The other would be beheaded and impaled. To the one official who would be restored, Joseph asked him to remember him when he got out. When he got out of prison, Joseph asked him to remember him and show him kindness, to mention him to Pharaoh, so that he could be released from prison. Joseph says, remember me. When you get out, mention my name to the Pharaoh. I desire to be released from this prison. Remember me. Joseph explains to this official about all of his difficulties, how he was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews. And even here, Joseph says, I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. And yet, after the official was restored, the Bible tells us that he did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. We might be wondering about our dreams. Where will our dreams take us? Joseph's dreams had proved challenging thus far. It led him being betrayed by family, sold into slavery, falsely accused and thrown in prison. And there he is, in prison, as an overseer of a prison, with this responsibility, with this duty to look after and attend these other prisoners. And he sees people come in, and he sees them go out. He sees people come and go. And there he is, kept, confined. His dream still bubbling inside of him. This dream that's larger than life. A dream given by God. God being the interpreter. The one who gives meaning and unfolds mystery. Joseph sees the rising and falling at the hand of Pharaoh, who casts sentences, who raises people up and lowers them down. And he sees that even in his circumstance that God is still speaking to him about this dream that was given to him. God uses these dreams of these other two officials, to say, yes, the dream is still there. The dream is still alive. That I am the one that interprets the dreams and makes things happen. And so Joseph sees that God Almighty is the one who speaks destiny into being, who reveals and gives truth even in a jail cell. Friend, are you waiting for a dream to unfold? We look for a favorable interpretation. The first dream that Joseph interpreted was a favorable one. And so that's the reason why the second official wanted Joseph also to interpret his dream and to give him, he thought, hopefully, a favorable interpretation. We look for a favorable interpretation. Like the first one given to the first official's dream, one of restoration, being restored to a high position. We long to be remembered and be brought out of our challenging circumstances and into success and happiness. But just as dreams unfold, there may be things that need to run its course for us to move into the place God has in store for us. These things might take time to unfold. They need to fall into place. Joseph needed patience and perseverance to prosper. It's important that we remember these things too. That we need patience and perseverance to rely on God for meaning, for truth, no matter what our circumstances look around us. And know that we have a responsibility and duty to attend to right where we are. Well, I pray that this message has been a blessing to you. And I pray and hope that you have a good rest of your week. And until next time, bye-bye.